Hey, welcome to a little demo of my latest dual mode profile from Ecamm. So, in order to use this profile, you're going to need the latest version of Ecamm, that is version 4.5 as we speak, but 4.5 and above. I'm also not going to be teaching you how to use Ecamm. I expect you already to be familiar with Ecamm. So if you haven't already done it, go and join Adrian Salisbury's live cohort, or follow Alec Johnson's wonderful free course, or indeed any of the other free resources from Ecamm before you start. So let's have a look in live demo mode of what this profile looks like. So the profile consists of 30 plus scenes, all have been laid out for you to use, and hopefully nice and easy in terms of folder structure and naming conventions and stuff like that. But I'll go through that in a moment or two. So most keenly we're interested in what's happening in the vertical side of things, so over there or over there, depending on which way I'm pointing. And that is because both of these streams are going to be going out at the same time. This profile is specifically designed for when you're going live. So if all you're doing is repurposing your content, then that's really going to be a slightly different profile. You'll get away with a little bit more space around you. But this profile is designed for going live in vertical and in horizontal at the same time. On many different platforms, most of them, you will be safe with exactly what I'm doing today. But let's just talk about some of the safe zones. So in my show in all scenes area over on the right hand side here, if I just zoom in here, make that slightly larger, then what we've got available to us is a couple of different things in the top, one of which is safe zones. So on your phone, if you are looking at what you're going to see, if it's an iPhone, those two black bars are bits which are going to chop off on your phone, so you will not see what is behind those back bar areas. So my recommendation, if you're doing your own designs, don't design in those two black areas, because certainly on iPhones you will not see those areas. And that is not true for every single phone on the market. There's some weird and wonderful shapes. There are also some other elements where if you are live, you're going to find that directly above me there is the phone lozenge, there are power indicators, there are signal indicators, there's all sorts of other stuff going on directly above me, so don't place stuff there. Busier still is down below, where you will get a description potentially of your stream, plus some live text going on based upon what you're saying, plus loads of comments coming in, and they will float right up to the area of the safe zone that I've laid out just there. It's very similar to the one that Ken and Glenn have built in, but just a bit easier to see on this particular layout. The other element which I have allowed for is things like thumbs up and thumbs down and comments bubbles and all sorts of controls that are on your screen, which tend to be on the right hand side. So I've allowed a little bit more space over here to one side, to the left and the right of where my image is at the moment. So that's my safe zones. That's going to work for nearly everything except TikTok. TikTok is a complete nightmare. Your safe zone is something like that on TikTok, but I'm not going to go into that anymore here because I've never streamed to TikTok, so let's remove that one for the moment. But I'm also going to leave in these black bars for the rest of the demonstration, because that is what you actually will see on your phone in terms of screen real estate. So the safe zones are there. You can turn them on or off as you want to have a look at them as you go along. Other things you're going to want to change. Now, this profile has taken a long time to create. There's a lot in it, but it's still only 80% of the work. To make it your own, you're going to have to change a few things yourself. So first thing, show in all scenes, I have got a logo in the horizontal side. You can see it highlighted there. And I've got a logo in the vertical side. So in every particular instance, you're going to have to place elements on the horizontal side and on the vertical side. So both of those logos are in there. You're going to want to put your own logo in. You may want to come in here, for instance, and even change something like the blend mode. So if I change that to luminosity, then you'll see that my logo has gone grey directly above my head in the larger version of this. So you can play about with those if you want to, and I think it can give you some nicer effects. But for the moment, what I think we'll do is just leave that as normal. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to just scroll back out again slightly so I can actually see that menu option. That's me trying to be clever. Blend mode normal on that one. Blend mode normal on this one. Right up at the top of the screen. So, just checking I'm still in live demo mode. Other things that you're going to have to change. Let's move in here. In every single scene, I've got things laid out in horizontal and vertical format. So I've got two folders going on, a horizontal folder and a vertical folder. And each one of those are kind of laid out largely the same. There's some minor differences, but they're pretty much the same. And that is folders for cameras, names, text, background. So the first thing you're going to need to do in this profile is just come up into your cameras and make sure that your cameras are set to A, B, C and D, because that's the cameras I use in this profile. So it's up to 4 people. So I want camera A set as your main camera, in my case USB video, camera B guest 1, camera C guest 2, camera D guest 3. If you set those cameras in your camera switcher by going to A, B and then choosing your sources as camera A USB, camera B guest 1, camera C guest 2, camera D guest 3, this will all work straight away with the cameras. That's the easiest bit of it. Probably the pain in the neck bit of it is names. So I have a folder for names. In this case, there's only one name in that folder, but as we go down, that's going to progress to 4 names in that folder. You're going to have to go in and change and put in your name every time my name or anyone else's name appears. So it's a bit of a pain first time round, but you're only going to need to do it once really to go change those names, unless your guests' names are changing all the time. But you're going to have to either go into that text box and change the name directly, or cut and paste a text option over mine and hide mine or get rid of it. Which, while I remember it, one of the other things you want to do first of all is make a duplicate of this profile. So once you've loaded it up, immediately go and make a duplicate of it, because you will mess up as you go along. So names are going to have to be changed as you go through. Text obviously also needs to change if you are doing a show which is not welcome to the live profile, or it's not live from Edinburgh last week sometime. You will need to go change those texts. So wherever the text appears, you're going to have to go cut and paste text. So that is a bit of a pain for you. The next bit is the background. What I recommend with the background is don't touch it, leave it alone. It's locked for a reason. I've got these layouts there for a reason. So don't change the background, and in fact you'll find that nearly everything is locked in place so that you don't move things around too much. I've spent too long getting things in the right place to have people moving them all around. So if in doubt, don't touch it. So other things that you can change though, if you really want to. So let me zoom back out again, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this show in background area to show you what is in the background. So let me just roll back out again, because you don't need to see too much detail here. So in show in background, I've got a video going on. Now anything you put in show in background is going to evenly split across both of the profiles, so both of the canvases, and the result is that the center of the canvas in the vertical is going to be what you're going to get in show in background. So in my case, for instance, I have got a background loop going on. So if you don't want that on, I can just turn that loop off, but that loop is going to appear in the center of the screen over there. So other controls that I have in the background here, which I may or may not want to choose to use, I have a blur control, and so I can blur my background a little bit. So you've noticed there's a little bit of a blur in the background. I'll show you that again in a minute on a different background. There is a color control, which is going to allow me to blend my backgrounds to different colors. So I can go in here, I can pick this and choose a different color, and it will give me an overall tint of that color. I've also got some different backgrounds totally in here, just for examples. So this is the rainbow background. I'm going to turn that off. And what we can have a look at now is a different background. Let's turn the rainbow off. And if I bring in this background here, there is a bright purple background. Now this purple background, I think I would tend to use that with the blur. So it looks quite good with a blur, and you can move the blur up and down to give you different backgrounds again with this. So let's take the blur off. And in fact, leave the blur on, and I'll just demo changing colours. So if I wanted to change the colour there, I could come in here and say, no, I want that to be more cyan, and it's going to give me a different colour in the background here. On a similar basis, while I'm at it, let me show you that background loop again. So it's got a blend mode of lighten going on at the moment. I might want to choose, let's say, luminosity again, because I know that's going to give me a dramatic effect. So I choose luminosity here, and in fact let's bring that blur back on. So I've now changed the look and feel quite dramatically by just going into the background here and playing with those different effects. So let's go back and change it to what I had originally. I think I had lighten in here, which I like because it shows my coloured loop going on. Now I'm going to get rid of the blur, get rid of the colour, get rid of the rainbow, and I'm going to get rid of the purple, and just show you another different background here. So another totally different background for all of the scenes, so dramatically different. I've just dropped a sort of cityscape in the background here, and again, if I wanted to bring in a colour and change that, I could bring in colour, and that's going to give me a completely different cityscape in the background. So depending on what I want to see in the background, I can play about and get what I want. You can of course drop your own background in if you wanted to, or you could go really dramatic and just get rid of all of them. So get rid of that one, close that, close the rainbow, and close the colour, close the blur, close the background, and I could just have a colour. Now that is set at the moment to a blend mode off colour. If I send the blend mode to normal, it's just going to give me a standard coloured background, and I can also, if I want to, change that to a gradient. So if you just want a plain gradient background, you can have a plain gradient background. It's as easy to do as that. So let's change that back to colour, so I don't forget what I've been doing here. Change that to colour, and then we're going to bring back in, let's bring in the rainbow effect, turn that colour off, turn that blur off, and we're back on the rainbow effect background just for demonstration purposes. So that's how you can play about with this. You can obviously go into the individual areas and change colours on any particular element if that's something that you want to do, but you will have to come down all your different scenes and change colours on different scenes. So that can be quite a big job to do that. So as I said, horizontal and vertical, the same things are appearing in each canvas. So in vertical, if I come over here to my camera and just turn it off, it's going to turn off for that folder. If I turn off the names, it's going to turn off my name, and so on and so forth. In other scenes, things are grouped together, so you can turn them on or off if you want to get rid of the names because you can't be bothered to go through and put names everywhere. Then that's the way to do it in this particular canvas. So other things that I have got going on in terms of the scenes and the layouts to quickly take you through. So I've got some comments coming in on this one. Comments, as you know, these are comments placeholders. I've put those at the top of each scene. So the 2 comments placeholders are at the top of each scene so that you can see where they are. Obviously, there's the odd quirk where you'll bring comments in and they don't quite behave as you want them to. But now when comments appear in dual mode, at the bottom of the comment screen there is an option to either add in horizontal only, vertical only, or both scenes. So you're going to want to add them to both canvases when your comments come in, or generally you're going to want to do that. So I've got other scenes set up here as well. So here's one where you can drop in your own video. So I've got a nice square video going in on a loop here. If you come over to replace asset, because you've got another square video, if you come over here and choose replace asset, then that is the best way to ensure that it just drops straight into that position, and you'll need to do the same on the other side as well. So up to replace asset if you have a square video. If you don't have a square video, you can always crop the video down to the existing size, in which case I'd recommend dropping the video in and then cropping it down. These videos are all set to WebM, which means they will travel with the profile. If they're not set to WebM, they will not. Here's one for host and active speaker, so anybody who you've got on your Zoom call will jump into here. You need to check your preferences to make sure that's going to happen on Ecamm, but if you go to the Zoom preferences and look for active speaker and turn that on, then during a Zoom call they're going to jump into that box. Here's one here that looks remarkably similar to the last one, but this one's actually a screen share. So this is a screen share for Square, and the reason I like this is that on the vertical in particular you get tons of space around you if you're going to do a square share of a screen. So we've already seen it with video, but that equally as well could be a PowerPoint or a Keynote, both of which you can just set your canvas size to square in those packages. So literally you go and set the canvas to square in Keynote and in PowerPoint. You've probably never done that, but if you do, it will look really good when you drop it into this format. You could use Streamer Live in Square as well. So Streamer Live is the audience engagement tool where I can bring in all sorts of different graphical representations of feedback from the audience. And the beauty of Streamer Live is you don't have to leave whatever platform you're in to do that. So if you're going out to YouTube, connect Streamer Live to YouTube, it will bring in the comments and visualize them as all sorts of different graphics. If you're using Zoom, you can just do the same with Zoom, or indeed pretty much any other platform. But it works very well in Square. Within Streamer Live, you go to the top of the options bar in Streamer Live and there's a toggle between Square and Landscape. If you choose Square, it will look really good here. But for those who want to do a wide screen share, I've also built in a wide screen share myself. I think that in the vertical format, it's going to look pretty tiny. So be very careful about what you want to put into that wide screen share. But there it is. I've put it in there for you. I've also built in a couple of transitions, transitions and some holding scenes. So transition. And this one just lasts for 8 seconds. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, while I remember, change the options here for generally the transition, and I have set mine to slow across dissolve as the generic transition. So let's try that one again, because I think it'll work a lot smoother with slow across dissolve. Slow across dissolve goes on. You can pause this if you want to. You can go into preview mode and you can change the text. So if you didn't want it to say guest time and you wanted to say something else, then you could do that. If you wanted to add in a bit of music, that would be the place to do it. So you might want a little bit of music and then maybe a cheer as your guest appears here. But I've got a nice simple layout for 2 guests, and then we go through a sort of sequence of the same things as I had for host on their own. So we end up with various different scenes where I run through active speaker, the square, and the two up as well. So all of these are set for you. You shouldn't really need to touch them once you've done what I've previously mentioned, but as you can see me doing now, scrolling down, the same exists for 3 and the same exists for 4 people. So if I come right down to my 4 people with ultra wide, then that's what my 4 people are going to look like with the 16 by 9 widescreen share going on. And as you can see, in terms of showing current scene, there's a lot going on by the time you get down here in terms of number of cameras, number of names, etc, etc. But everything's laid out nice and neatly. We've even got screen share elements laid out and video elements where they are appropriate, and they're all tucked into their folders, and the same in vertical as well. So all of those are in there. There's a couple of extra scenes as well, so I've just added in a host call to action scene where you can then go and drop in all of your own QR codes for your people and play about with the screen to do whatever you want it to do. But in my particular case, I've got one for the Go Live Now Academy, I've got one to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I've got one for contacting me on LinkedIn. So you might want to think about that at the end of any stream, putting your call to actions at the end of the stream. So I've also, we've got stream ending, so I've created a little stream ending video, and again you can change your text on this one if you want to. There is no countdown timer on that stream. It will keep going and going for forever until you hit stream end. And on a similar basis, I've got a Be Right Back version sitting there as well. Don't move between those two videos at once. It seems Ecamm does a bit of a flicker. But you can go and change all of the settings on these in the same way as I did for the backgrounds if you want to play about with these to give yourself a different version of what is going on. If that is something that interests you, you may want to sign up to a forthcoming Ecamm design workshop that I am running with Neil Faramond. It is 4 lots of 2-hour sessions where we'll go through everything to do with this profile and how it's put together, but also how you can go about designing your own profiles, or tricks of the trade in terms of how have I got this sort of look and feel going on and what goes where, and also ask any questions technically or about design works. So there are up to 9 spaces available on these workshops. They are paid for workshops, but if you follow that QR code, we will take you to those workshop space where you can sign up for the wait list, and we'll let you know once we've scheduled it all in. But that is really for people who want to take that step further with Ecamm and really need to understand how to make everything come together and look good. And for those who, I guess, think that they're worth it, then come along to the design workshop and meet other people of a similar leaning and thinking, and we'll get something together for you that looks really cool. So for me, I think that is the end of things today. I should come out of live demo mode, really. Come out of live demo mode, just theoretically, because I always forget to do that. And we'll call that a 24-minute intro to this live profile. And hopefully that's all recorded. See you soon. Bye for now. Cheerio.